Well, just pulled up to the lot here down in Kentucky. It is 7:30 now. Going to do a little bit of scouting here today. I was here last weekend and a couple weekends prior to that, scouting around. I have almost 14 miles on this place so far. I also hunted it last year and scouted it some last year. Really just trying to dial in a few places, rule some spots out, rule some other spots in. So just really trying to fine tune everything here. So I'm gonna go out, scout a couple ridges that I have not been on yet. And then depending on how quick I move today, I may loop around to where I know at least one shooter buck was hanging out early season and scout around there a little bit, depending on the time. But we'll see. And maybe I will stumble upon a shed today. Who knows? So I'm up on this small little secondary ridge here. As you can see behind me, it's a small little green field. I kind of wanted to come up here first with this warmer day. It looks like the deer have been going to these fields with early green up, just from the snow melt and in the sun, and we're getting some like little sprouts, and they seem to be hitting it pretty hard this time of year. So I wanted to come up here, maybe glass up the shed, but also down the bottom, just below this ridge here, I got probably one of the best bucks I've had on camera on this piece. It's just one time at night, but a real nice wide 10-pointer. I got that buck, and then there was another buck, not nearly the same size-wise, but he was old. You could tell he just had a horse of a body on him, belly was sagging, a very mature deer. So I wanted to come up this ridge. There's a select cut on the end of the ridge, and then we have this green field here. I really think this is more of like an early season spot, but I wanted to check the sign here. I'm not really getting any of these bucks in daylight on tops of ridges or on the bottoms. They seem to be skirting the upper to middle third of these ridges. But I wanted to come up here and mark all the sign and see if I could potentially stage some cameras in some locations to where I can get an idea of a line of travel. And I would expect nighttime photos here, but it at least gives me an indication of which direction they're going to and from. But I came up here, there's a few scrapes on this field edge under these cedars and some pretty nice rubs. I'll show you guys here. So it doesn't look like much, but when you get closer to it, a bunch of little branches are snapped off. This branch is snapped off. You can tell there's tine marks all the way up here. It just really looked like something got in here and started thrashing this. Broken up, tick marks, varying heights. So it looks like it's a pretty decent buck. And then we got a scrape here, and a scrape there. So I'm gonna mark the sign on this field edge and then dump down here on this little bench here, and then walk that out and see if I find any other scrapes or anything. Here we go. Good sized track. I know it's muddy, so it's going to distort it a little bit, but it's a walking track, and it's bigger than all the other tracks around it. At first, this track got my attention. But then I looked up ahead, and that is definitely a bigger set. Comes up off this hillside. That bench I wanted to check is there. I got some nice rubs and a scrape line here, so I'm really going to try and dissect this hillside. So up on that hillside, drop down to this bench. Been walking it back and forth. The decent set of tracks I found were up there. I come down, and I don't know if you can tell, pretty nice bed right here. It's matted down. You can see kind of a faint trail coming up here. There's quite a bit of feed sign on this hillside. This is an east facing slope. You can see where all the leaves are kicked up. It'd be really nice if I could find a shed. We shall see. I'm gonna follow this trail down and look at the hillside for a shed. Here's another decent sized bed. You kind of see where it's matted down there. And then got some hairs in it. Some droppings. They don't look like real big droppings though. There's some more there. But I just follow that bench on down. I'm kind of on the northeast side of this ridge now. There's another kind of select cut over here. You can tell I'm nearing a drainage here. And there's some trails that dip down. Now last year when I scouted, I didn't come up on this ridge, but I did walk that bottom looking for hub scrapes. I didn't find a hub scrape, but I did find a pretty good crossing over here. So I'm gonna go back down there, recheck that, and probably finish walking this ridge out. So I just came around this ridge here, kind of worked my way around the upper third, checked that hub, really nothing in that hub back there. Came up and followed this deer trail. Finally came across a pretty decent scrape on this beach here. There's multiple white oaks in here, mixed in with red oaks. It's fairly open here. I'm not really expecting to see any daytime movement in here, but there's thick bedding around, and about 400 to 450 yards as the crow flies that away, I had 3 different shooter bucks on different cameras on secondary ridges. So I'm gonna mark this. You can tell the ground is, it's towards the end of February and the ground is still bare. This whole branch is twisted up. So I'm gonna mark this and probably put an SD soaker cam on it for intel. I came in here and scouted a little bit. I scouted this big hub here in September, the very beginning of the season, and I don't believe this was here. So probably that late October time frame, this popped up. But I'm gonna mark it and use it for intel. It's just up on that secondary ridge there. That scrape I had showed you guys was over there. Swung around and checked that beech tree. There's a scrape there. And then there's a small one under that one. So I decided to walk down here. I actually checked this hub last year and I didn't find a hub scrape. So came down here and found this. Now, it's not like a gigantic hub scrape, but it is in a hub. Ground is bare. This tree's twisted up. There's a select cut here, thicker bedding cover. This is just kind of an overgrown mess up here. So again, thick bedding cover. It's really open here and here, but on the tops it gets thick before it gets to the access road. So I don't know what kind of movement I'm going to get down here. It doesn't necessarily set up like a typical hub scrape where you kind of get them coming down wind to back and going to food out the drainage, that is. But there may be some cross movement here. I think I'm going to place a cam here and again just use it as inventory and see if I can get an idea of our bucks dropping down off this ridge, this one. As of right now, it looks like they're going between this ridge and that select cut there. So we will see. I'll use a camera here to try and actually peg down the movement and see if I'm correct. So it's just down that hub. Came up on the secondary ridge. I'd never been on this ridge, so I want to make sure I did some scouting up here. Came up on this scrape, kind of an interior scrape right next to some bedding cover. I'm actually more excited about this than that hub scrape. There's a big white oak out in front of me here and just a bunch of cover here. So definitely marking this, and Might be able to put a cell camera up here since I'm up on top of the ridge. We'll see. So I come down the secondary ridge here in front of me and towards the bottom of it get into multiple beech trees. Multiple scrapes there. Looks like a couple decent beds. Lots of droppings, some older, some newer. So I get down this little micro hub, and it's not like a real evident hub scrape, but got a licking branch here. You can tell it's broken, twisted. Yeah, it's smack in the middle of the hub. So this is the hub scrape. So I'm gonna mark it. Looks like there's a decent track here. And probably hang a camera here for inventory. There's a much better trail coming down off that ridge from those beech trees and going up onto this oak flat up here. So I might hang a camera here and on that trail over there, because that trail is definitely more worn down. Looks like there's more traffic going through there. But this is exciting. I think a buck could be one of the bucks I've been after, is holding up on this small little secondary ridge here. So this has me excited to put some cameras over here. Well, it's gonna wrap it up for me for today. It's just before 12:30. Just a quick 3.5 miles. Not a long day, but a quality day. Found some good sign. I think I ruled in a couple spots to put some cameras, and I ruled out some other spots to just avoid entirely. So, very productive day. I want to put in a few more days of scouting around here and hitting a couple new spots, and should be ready for season. I'll put cameras out after turkey season and then check them a month before the season comes in, and then go from there.